Welcome. Okay, so today we're looking at this really fascinating piece. It meticulously documents these explosive allegations around Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers' aspiration, this whole alleged mess of salary cap circumvention and corporate fraud.
It's definitely dense with detail, a lot to unpack.
Right off the bat, though, while the facts are laid out effectively, we think there's a chance to really enhance the narrative, specifically by interweaving those two main threads, Kawhi's deal and aspirations, well, meltdown, more deliberately. It could really boost that detective story feel.
Yeah, I felt that too. Reading through it was like, okay, here's the Kawhi stuff, and here's the aspirations timeline, and I was sort of mentally trying to braid them together myself.
Exactly. The current structure sometimes treats them as parallel stories, right? Running alongside each other, but not always clearly intersecting in the narrative flow itself.
Which means the reader or listener has to do that connection work. And when you're doing that, you kind of lose some of the dramatic punch, you know? The tension that should be building.
Totally. It diffuses the impact when the connections aren't explicitly drawn right there in the moment.
Right. So the suggestion here is to lean into that investigative angle more. Frame it like you're uncovering clues, piece by piece, where each new fact about aspiration sheds light on the Kawhi situation, and vice versa.
Making it feel more like cause and effect unfolding?
Precisely. Building suspense, not just listing events. We want that feeling of, now I see how that connects.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense narratively. So how could that look in practice? Any concrete examples?
Well, think about aspiration's backstory, the founding, the celebrity stuff, instead of having that as like a separate block of info.
Yeah.
Introduce it right after you mention that weird bankruptcy entry, the KL2 Aspire LLC thing.
Oh, okay.
You identify KL2, link it to Kawhi, and then immediately pivot. So who was this company Aspiration? Well, they weren't just anyone. And boom, you tie their whole green image directly into the questions around this potential no-show job. Contextualize it immediately.
I like that. It anchors Aspiration's identity firmly within the scandal from the get-go, rather than feeling like a later info dump. Makes the potential motive clearer. Maybe?
Exactly. And another thing, the timing. Kawhi's extension, Ballmer's investment in Aspiration, the new arena.
Yeah, the sequence is interesting.
Don't just state the sequence. Use transitions that scream, look at this timing. Something like, now it's really crucial to clock the timing here. Just weeks after Leonard signs his big extension, Ballmer breaks ground on the Intuit Dome. And then shortly after that, Ballmer personally pumps significant money into Aspiration.
Highlighting the synchronicity?
Yeah. Make the listener think, wait, is this all connected? Don't just lay the facts out flat.
That definitely adds a layer of suspicion. Makes it feel more like an orchestrated series of events, maybe.
Right. And one more quick idea here. Those quotes hinting at the big picture, like Pablo Torres' initial suspicion about how the Clippers even landed Kawhi in the first place. Yeah. Bring that in earlier, maybe right before you reveal the KL2 Aspire discovery. Use his question as the setup, the mystery that the KL2 finding starts to unravel. Frame the whole investigation as the answer to that initial how.
So using the quotes not just as commentary, but as structural elements to drive the narrative forward.
You got it. It just tightens everything up, makes it feel less like separate reports and more like one unfolding investigation.
Okay, that's really helpful for strengthening the narrative pull. Let's move to the second point. The material does a great job explaining the mechanics of the alleged salary cap rule breaking and the fraud. But maybe there's room to explore the so what more deeply.
Meaning the bigger picture implications?
Yeah, the impact on the NBA's competitive integrity, the whole ethical side of things, especially the greenwashing angle with Aspiration.
Okay, I see where you're going. It mentions the Joe Smith precedent, calls circumvention a cardinal sin. But does it really dig into why it's such a big deal? Especially when you've got the league's richest owner, Steve Ballmer, involved. Someone who could theoretically just outspend everyone.
Right. It states the rule breaking, but maybe doesn't fully explore how this kind of alleged action fundamentally challenges the spirit of the NBA system. That system designed precisely to prevent wealth from completely dominating.
It's like we see the what happened, but could use more of the why it fundamentally matters.
Exactly. So the suggestion is to elevate that discussion, move beyond just rules were broken to foundational principles are being challenged here. Spend a bit more time on the philosophy behind the salary cap itself. Why does it exist? And how do these alleged actions, particularly from Ballmer, potentially corrode trust among owners, players, fans?
And weaving in the aspiration side, too.
Absolutely. Underscore the irony, the sort of moral hazard, of this supposedly eco-friendly finance company, allegedly built on fraud, also being the vehicle for these questionable payments. Connect the sports ethics to the corporate ethics, or lack thereof.
Got it. So making the systemic stakes clearer. How might we do that specifically?
Well, when talking about the salary cap, you could explicitly frame the power dynamic. Like, look, the whole point of a salary cap is to stop the wealthiest owners, people like Steve Ballmer, worth, $175 billion, from just buying championships outright. So this alleged scheme, it's a direct assault on that core principle. It throws the whole idea of a level playing field, especially for smaller markets, right out the window.
Okay. Yeah, putting Ballmer's wealth right next to the cap's purpose really highlights the tension. It makes the threat feel more concrete than just saying, rule broken.
And then there's that sweetener email from Joe Sandberg.
Yeah. The one calling Ballmer's investment a sweetener.
Don't just present it as a piece of evidence. Frame it as potentially an admission. Think about Sandberg's own words here. Calling Ballmer's investment a sweetener. That's incredibly revealing, isn't it? It suggests, perhaps, a conscious effort to get around the rules, to skirt the spirit of fair play. And it seems like they knew that's what it looked like.
Using their own language to signal intent? That's powerful. It shifts it from just a fact to a possible insight into their mindset.
Right. And finally, really lean into the contradiction with Aspiration's image. This is the company with Robert Downey Jr. ads about aspiring to zero carbon. The company that branded the Red Sox as carbon neutral, allegedly built on fraud, and used to funnel money for a no-show job to a superstar.
Wow, yeah.
It's not just a sports scandal. It raises these huge questions about the integrity of the whole green business trend itself. Can we trust these claims when this kind of stuff might be happening behind the curtain?
That definitely broadens the so what. It connects the dots to much larger societal concerns about corporate responsibility and, greenwashing. Makes the story resonate beyond just NBA fans.
Exactly. Okay, final main critique area. The material is packed with really compelling evidence, some truly damning details. But some of them might actually be getting a bit lost.
How so? Like too much information?
Sort of. With so many revelations flying around, a few of the absolute bombshells risk being presented almost too matter-of-factly. They don't quite land with the force they could. They blend into the flow instead of standing out as those wait, what moments.
I think I see what you mean. Like the specific contract language for Kawhi, the no-show elements? Or maybe those internal comments from Aspiration folks.
Yes, those details are in there, but they feel like they're just part of the list of facts, rather than being highlighted as potential smoking guns.
So the impact gets a bit diluted because they're surrounded by so much other information. They don't get the spotlight they deserve, maybe.
Precisely. So the suggestion here is pretty straightforward. For maybe the 2 or 3 most critical, most damning pieces of evidence, give them a little more air.
How do you mean more air?
Don't just state the fact. Pause the narrative for a second. Unpack why this specific detail is so significant. Emphasize the audacity, or what it clearly indicates about intent. Let the implications really sink in for the listener.
Make those key moments pop. Okay, got any examples of how to do that?
Okay, take that contract clause again, the one letting Kawhi decline promotions if they weren't consistent with his beliefs.
Yeah, that one's wild.
Instead of just mentioning it, frame its absurdity. Like, now let's just pause on this for a second. The contract apparently gave Kawhi the power to refuse any promotional work if he decided it wasn't consistent with his beliefs, a term they conveniently left undefined. Think about that. This wasn't just a loose agreement. It reads like a built-in escape hatch, giving him total control to basically do nothing if he chose.
Highlighting the vagueness and the power it gave him, it makes the no-show job allegation feel much more concrete.
Exactly.
Or the finance employee's comment about the $28 million deal, the one that ended with LOL. Oh, right. The email or message calling it a way to circumvent the cap, then LOL.
Amplify that reaction. Imagine you're working in finance at Aspiration and someone tells you this massive $28 million deal with Kawhi Leonard is basically structured to circumvent the salary cap. And then they add LOL, an actual LOL. That casual dismissal, that laughing out loud about potentially breaking major league rules, it speaks volumes about the internal attitude, doesn't it?
Yeah, that LOL is just chillingly casual. Focusing on that human reaction makes the alleged scheme feel incredibly brazen.
It adds that cynical edge. And one more. The Uncle Dennis was calling detail.
During Aspiration's financial crisis, when they were running out of money?
Yes, emphasize the pressure there. Picture this. Aspiration is collapsing, bleeding cash, fighting for survival. But one payment is still priority one. Kawhi Leonard's panicence. Why? The documents say it's because Uncle Dennis was calling, demanding the money. And paying him was apparently crucial to our relationships with Ballmer and the Clippers. Even as the ship was sinking, this payment, allegedly tied to Ballmer, had to be made. That paints a vivid picture of the pressure and the interconnectedness, right?
Definitely shows where the priorities allegedly lay, even in a crisis. It ties Kawhi, Dennis, Aspiration, and the Clippers-Ballmer relationship together under immense pressure. Okay, yeah, those are great examples of how to make the key evidence really hit home.
So, just to recap this critique, we've dug into these complex allegations involving Kawhi, the Clippers, Aspiration, highlighting ways to possibly sharpen the narrative, really deepen the exploration of the systemic impact, and make sure that key evidence lends with maximum force.
Yeah, we talked about enhancing that narrative flow, really connecting Kawhi's deals directly with Aspiration's downfall as it happens. Then expanding on why this matters so much for the NBA's competitive balance, the whole so what. And finally, spotlighting those really audacious details, like the contract clauses or internal comments, so they don't get lost. Areas where this already strong material could potentially have an even bigger impact.
We really hope you find these suggestions useful as you think about the next draft. Please do consider integrating some of these ideas, and we'd be absolutely thrilled to take another look at the revised work. It's a really compelling story you're telling here. Thanks so much for sharing it with us.